Shri Rahul Roushan is an author, political commentator, and entrepreneur. He has written the best-selling book, Sanghi Who Never Went to a Shaka, and is currently serving as the CEO of OpIndia.com. Rahul is a maths graduate and holds a postgraduate diploma in broadcast journalism from IIMC, New Delhi. He worked as a TV journalist for around 2.5 years before pursuing MBA at IIM Ahmedabad. Later, Rahul founded two websites, first being crickstock.com, a virtual gaming website based on cricket, another being Faking News, a news satire portal. He sold off both the ventures before joining OpIndia. Over to you, Shri Rahulji. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start while people having tea and coffee over there. Hopefully, they would warm up with hot coffee and hot tea, and So thank you to everyone for turning up, and thank you World Hindu Congress and Hindu Media Forum for having us here. The session, this panel, we are going to talk about building an alternate narrative and the challenges that are involved. The idea would be obviously that we share our journey, how we started, and what have been the challenges that we face, so that if some of you want to do something similar, you can learn from our success and failures. That obviously is the idea, and then we also discuss those challenges. We could perhaps find some common threads as well as threats actually. And, we can try to maybe come up with some solutions, some actionable points if that's there. Otherwise, obviously, it's always is very nice to interact with people and to share our experience. So that is what we would like to be doing. Oh, where is the timer? I mean, people say I'm running out of time and I'm running out of time or something. Oh, okay, you are the timer. Okay. So that's what I was wondering. So, because I have what I want to say in my mind, but yeah, obviously it's always nice to have a visual cue that, okay, I should wrap up or I should accelerate. So, yeah, so coming back to the panel, we in a way, it's a very, we kind of cover a good spectrum. I run a website where, obviously it's a news and opinion website. The challenges there running such a website is obviously very unique in itself. And then, you have people who are in podcasts, because that's one thing obviously everyone wants to do these things these days. And it's understood to be something that can come very easily. You don't need to have a very high investment or something. That's something that you might think that karna kya hai, just put on a phone or a camera and you start. But is that so easy? Is that really how you go about it? So obviously Abhijit would be talking about that. And then obviously, apart from say news or podcast, you go into the realm of documentaries. You go into the realm of audiovisual production. And that's where the other two guests, the speakers, Prachyam, the Praveenji and Raviji, both of them have been doing documentaries, and they can, share their understanding, their challenges. And both, in a way, even though both are doing documentaries, their approach and their experience is very varied. One is catering to has come from an Indian perspective, from a rather Bharatiya perspective, and catering to the Bharatiya audience. And Raviji has to think about the international audience, the kind of narrative that has been set against Bharat or Hindu Dharma, and how he, kind of faces that challenge. So I am assuming, I'm rather very confident that this is going to be a really, a session where you can learn a lot. So I would start with my own thing. You know, when we talk about narrative, I mean, what is narrative? It is really storytelling in short. You know, when you talk about building alternate narrative and all. So you are basically saying that you are going to tell a story, you are going to narrate an event which is different from how it has been done till now. Now, that indeed is a very challenging affair. You know, it might look like, okay, so what? Everyone is telling a story, you are also telling a story, and you decide to tell a story in a different manner. Could be really the challenge? Just go out and say that. It doesn't work that way. You know, it becomes very difficult, and that's why you remember that 4 or 5 years back, or maybe 10 years back, or even in fact 4, 5, 6 years back, when say people on the dharmic side or the so-called right-winger, when they didn't like something being shown in a movie or in a web series. Web series are a recent thing. Mostly, let's talk about movies or books. And they would say protest about it, or they would say that, okay, this thing should not have been done. What would the typical liberal reaction would be? Go, you make your own movies. Why don't you write your own books? Because they knew that, you know, when they were throwing these challenges, they knew that it was not easy to do it. That, you know, I can just tell them that go do this. They will not be able to do it, and there was a reason why they believed so. And indeed, it was so difficult to do it. And now when our own people have actually started making movies, when actually they have started writing books, then suddenly it's them who want to censor, it's them who want to put bans and all. So we have to understand that the initial challenge that they used to throw, what made them so confident that, these guys, when I say that go make your own movie, go write your own book, or make your own story, why they can't do it? Because the way, almost in everything that we do, you know, whether we talk about the websites or documentaries or podcast and all that, it's the entire thing, you know, the entire ecosystem of forces that, or dynamics rather, that make these happen are controlled by them. So it becomes very difficult to come up with it. You know, so let me, I mean, obviously others will start with, share their experiences. So let me give a brief about OpIndia. So essentially, when you start a news website, what do? I mean, it's simple website. I mean, these days you have open source things like WordPress and all, and you can go and start it. But there is a lot of problems, you know. So the biggest challenge that comes with this is actually, you know, what we are doing is of adjectives. You know, the biggest challenge we face is of adjectives. I have been already given a cue that just 1 or 2 minutes left. But you imagine that when people, when students, or rather the leftists of, like SFI and all that, in any campus, when they protest, media headlines would be students protest. When the other students from the other side of the ideology protest, media headlines would always be ABVP protest. You know, so how are ABVP guys not students? Why is it always that what the leftists are doing, they are protesting as students, they are protesting as women, whereas when it comes to here, then ABVP protects, Durga Vahini protests. So the biggest challenge comes with the adjectives, and this is very small thing. Like who is controversial? Say these currently in Netherlands, Geert Wilders has won. So far right leader Geert has won, or something like that. Okay, now I'm getting distracted with that. So the biggest thing is, and our own people have become so influenced by these adjectives that when we hire, say, a new talent and we ask him to go write some copy, those ingrained adjectives, those ingrained style sheet that we call is so much ingrained that we find it very difficult to train a new person, that you have to go beyond it. And that's what OpIndia could do. It was very difficult. So, for us, we would actually mention, say, controversial journalist Barkha Dutt, and that's why we are hated. So we started using the same kind of adjectives that they used about us, we started using about them. The entire style sheet we inverted. So obviously there are many challenges, as Nupur was saying, that we still cannot, the other side can use Hindu mob burns, whatever. It hardly happens, but let's assume that even if something like that happens, they can publish it. But you cannot say Muslims did it. Then, because if you go into any of those social media guidelines or Google guidelines, which you just, when you sign up and you press I accept the terms, this is, a protected category they have defined. And Hindus somehow are never there in the protected category. So you can say anything about Hindus. It doesn't violate any hate speech and all that. The moment you start saying the same thing about the other people, you go into the supposedly hate speech zone, and n number of things happen. We have been demonetized by Google for almost 2 or 3 months. So that means we cannot run Google ads, one of the staple food for anything that you go into digital domain. And we pinned them that, okay, tell us where we erred. And they couldn't see. Then the only thing, and it was so obvious that they were doing it in a completely biased and influenced by some people, that when we pinned them that show us the article where we are doing anything that is hate speech or that says promoting violence or anything, they couldn't do. What they could finally come up with, that some of the comments left by users were abusive. Now technically, when the comments are there on your website, they become your content, technically in digital space. So for people who have been following OpIndia for some time, you might have seen that earlier we used to have the comment section. Now for around 2 or 3 years, we don't have a comment section. So we said, okay, we cannot really fight with Google so much. Even if Google was answering our questions, it was because we could I don't need to explicitly say, but we could pull some strings and make them answer that, okay, you give us the explanation, otherwise they simply don't explain to people when they delete, or the censor. So then we went for that thing that, okay, let us remove the comments, but we would, okay. So there are n number of challenges. We would discuss that when when the panel goes out when I'm asked specific question. So next.